right. So yeah, today we are talking to Stephen Weigel. Very excited to be chatting with him. All right. It's already time, so let's see. See if he's ready. Yeah, I don't know why this always happens. My camera always looks funny when I do this. Don't know why. Mr. Shafe, what's up, dude? Melee, what's going on? How's everybody doing? It's the Christmas guy. Who's Steven? The Christmas guy? He does have a Christmas album, that is correct, yes. He's done a lot of stuff. It's hard to...
Hey, did it work?
Oh, I can hear you, Steven. I don't see you, though.
Oh, let me turn this camera on.
I don't know if you want to share video. Ah, there you are. Whoa! Look at that. What is up?
Okay.
How you doing? Hey, everybody.
Good, how are you?
Y'all let me know if the audio is good. Is the balance good and all that? Y'all let me know if I need to turn down or turn Steven up, or I don't know if I can turn him up, actually.
I'm being lazy and I'm using my MacBook microphone and not my good microphone, which I would like to not do, but I think I can get away with it. Oh, here we go. Change video background.
Steven is too quiet. Can you turn your audio, or can I turn your audio up, maybe? Let's see.
I might be able to change it over here. Because I am able to access some voice and video settings.
Oh,
here we go. Microphone volume. It's only at 67%. Let me blast it. How's this? Is this way better?
I think that's much better. How's that sound?
Oh,
everybody?
Great. Awesome.
Are we balanced now?
Balance.
We want to achieve balance. It's better.
Restoring balance to the force.
Should I turn Steven up more? Here, let me turn myself down. How's this? All right, whatever. How you doing, Steven? We'll figure it out. They'll tell me.
Yeah, I'm doing great. By the way, I love the thumbnail that you made for me. I saw it in the Discord just now.
Excellent. Yes, that is one of my proudest achievements. I love both those pictures of you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's lots of crazy pictures of me out there. There's no shortage of them, I don't think.
Yeah. Just type your name in.
Of course. I like your Legend of Zelda shirt. That's a good game.
Yes. I was debating between this and Kirby. But
yeah.
I wore Kirby yesterday. I didn't want to wear a dirty shirt.
Right. Exactly. I've been recycling mine a bit, unfortunately. I'll wear one and I'm like, I like that shirt so much more than my other shirts. I think I'm just gonna hang it back up and see if anybody notices. So far we've been good, so
right. It's the weekend, so you know.
Oh yeah.
But anyway. Well, yeah, man, you've been you're a big inspiration to me, like a big. I mean, so you're like kind of my introduction in many ways to the world of microtonality, especially through your podcast, and I think this is true for a lot of people. But like one of the first things. One of my first like big experiences, just as a musician, getting introduced to microtones was my buddy sent me your interview with Zia Arose, and we
that one,
and we were geeking out about that so much, and I just felt like the stuff y'all were talking about was like I thought I knew everything already, and everything y'all were talking about was something I'd never heard of, and not just with the microtones, but like with the production. And I realized there was this whole world of music that I hadn't really dove into yet. And I don't know, it was so inspiring. And I've said this many times on the internet, but I've listened to your podcast. I've listened to every episode of Now and Zen, and most of them twice. And largely because I spent a lot of time driving. But I don't know, I love the podcast. I love hearing people talk about microtones, and I've just learned so much just from hearing you talk to people about microtonality.
That's amazing, man. That's great. I love hearing that. And honestly, it's a little bit unexpected because when I started, I don't have any experience with these things. And I think I figured a microtonal podcast was something that should exist, but I didn't start a podcast with the like express purpose of conversationalizing it. And I just kind of stuck with it, and many years later, I think the fruits of it have blossomed in a strange and wonderful way. And uh yeah, it's been just unexpectedly really, uh, like there's been lots of growth in a lot of different directions because of it. So
You you do so much stuff. Like you do the
yeah.
podcast, you compose, you've built instruments, and you've been involved in this for a long time. Like I was looking at your YouTube, and you have a video just talking about like Zen harmonics that's 10 years old.
Oh,
And
it's 10 years old now. My God.
yeah, and at the time you were already talking about Zen harmonics as like someone who knew a lot about it. I mean, how long have you been doing this stuff?
Oh, that's such a good question. Um, well, I think what happened was I've always been interested in microtonality and ear training, and I loved being able to figure things out by ear and play any of the chords I wanted and all of that stuff. And I've always had a relentlessly explorative mindset. So, microtonality was a possibility that I really craved, I think, in my younger life. But being like a high school student and whatnot, um, there's not a lot of infrastructure that's prepared to uh, foist that on you as a student. I really hope someone will come to me in real life, not virtually. I have some virtual students, but I really hope someone will come to me in real life and want to learn about microtonality in person, which has happened in sparse bits here and there, but not in like a sustained way very much. I think what happened was I loved the microtonality and thought it would be great. And when you're thinking about composition and ways to compose and what people are going to play, the more structurally unlike 12 tone equal temperament, I suppose, something is, the less likely they are to play it. So I think for a really long time, I was like, oh, a microtonality would be really great, but if I wrote something in it, it would just be like kind of an experiment. And I didn't really understand the rules of all the systems yet. And then the big thing that changed for me was I'd been reading about it on the internet for quite some time, and there was this brief overlap where Aaron Hunt, the inventor of the tonal plexus keyboard, was just like straight up at Ball State and introduced me to the Facebook groups. And on the Facebook groups, something new happened. A bunch of people were talking about microtonality like they already knew everything, similarly to how you just described. And I was like, oh my God, there are other people. Because like I kind of, in my head, also thought that my interest was like really weird in a way, and it is. But I didn't think there was like anybody else out there who cared that much. So finding people like Paul Ehrlich, that was really transformative. I think the first major event that I attended that really was like laden in microtonality and Zen harmonic thinking was the first Un12 Praxis summer camp that I went to in 2016. John Moriarty was there, believe it or not. And I also got to meet Jacob Barton and Douglas Blumeyer, and Joe Manzo. Joe Manzo, he's quite a fella. He had quite a time at that camp. So I can tell some funny stories if you need them, but that's kind of how I first started, and then eventually I realized that a lot of the things that I wanted to do were things that I could do myself, but they would just take some work. So I've been relatively uncollaborative, unfortunately, because I'm very impatient. I just want to get things out really fast and do it all myself. Like I would much rather have something not be done because I was just slow enough to not do it than like somebody isn't responding to a message that I sent 2 years ago about this great thing. So like the anxiety of that can kind of eat away at me a little bit. So that's, spurred my evolution into whatever I'm doing right now. I've sort of tried to assemble an entire microtonal orchestra of cheap instruments so that I can put them together and play them all myself. And I've been mostly using those for cover songs. I haven't even really used that for composition, but I cannot wait to blow the lid off of that really soon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You've done so many covers and transcriptions and all that. Um, I'm still curious though. So you said you've always been interested in microtonality. Was this something that like occurred to you in the abstract before you like learned about it maybe formally? Because you said you like discovered people were interested in it. Were you just thinking like when you were young, were you just thinking like oh there's notes in between the notes. How would that work?
Well, yeah, yeah. I just kind of naturally had that thought as a philosophical question, and didn't really think to explore it too much. And then I think the fact that other people around me also didn't want to explore it, like, contributed to the idea of not exploring. But then it was like, after going to college and realizing that there were relentless explorers out there and that other people cared, it kind of like turned me onto it a bit. In fact, the very first tuning system that I notated with was 22 tone equal temperament because, and the only reason this is because on the Zen Harmonic Wiki, the 22 tone equal tempered scale chromatically was entirely written out, but the other ones didn't have that, so I didn't know how to use them.
Oh, I see. And did you end up contributing to the notation of any of the other tuning systems?
Well, I haven't really contributed to the wiki in any significant way. Occasionally, if I am on the wiki and I see that, like, there's a very obvious piece of information that's been missed, I may edit it. Or, like, if there's a piece that no one's talking about and it's a travesty, like people ignoring the Chrysalid Requiem for no reason, I might put it in there.
Oh, right.
Something like that. But I haven't really done anything in terms of editing the notation. I've just tried to use, I think I'm a little bit like Kite in a way, where like I'm trying to use the least amount of new symbols necessary and like put that in accordance with common practice. But he isn't as interested in contemporary classical music. So like he is less familiar with the idea that like 48 tet and 24 tet are like, you know, everywhere with those symbols he hates already.
Oh, what symbols are those?
Well, specifically, those would be like the Stein-Zimmerman accidentals, the half
Oh,
sharp and the
really?
half flat. Yeah. Now, there are some
Oh,
people
right.
who I think with quarter tones are still using like the arrow accidentals to notate like a note in between a 12th tet note and another 12th tet note instead of the Stein-Zimmerman accidentals. But the advantage of the Stein-Zimmerman accidentals is that you get to split the chromatic semitone in half, and it highly reduces the number of arrows you need to read if you're working with more complicated tunings. So all of the convenience of it depends on the scope of what you want to do personally, because like, if your ambition is just to write in 24 tone equal temperament a few times, then of course you could use the arrows, because then you never need to like get into that vast wilderness and things with like 4 arrows sticking out of a note for just like a random major second or something.
Yeah, so like in some systems, it seems like you could use ups, downs, or like half sharps, half flats. But in other
Yeah.
systems, you could use both, like in 34, for instance.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing that's really nice about using both, I know that it messes up the nice labeling that Kite has come up with, and so he doesn't like it, which is fine, of course. But I find that in those systems where you have arrows and Stein-Zimmerman accidentals together, they all look really similar triadically, and you can make the same assumptions about them, and they work across systems. It's why when I did my Georgian music theory goes hard video, you can read that music in 34, 41, and 48, and 22, and it works out the same way. In fact, you might. Oh, you wouldn't be able to read it in 24 because 24 doesn't have those arrows in addition to the Stein Zimmerman accidentals. But I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting how that kind of thing will transfer between some systems that are friendlier, like if they have a better circle of fifths. And some tunings are not as friendly, of course.
Yeah. Um, yeah, your Georgia music video was really cool, and the also the Ron Sword one you did recently. So
Oh yeah,
I found this really interesting. Like, I find it interesting when I hear you talk about how you notate because you have perfect pitch, right?
yes I do. Depending on who you ask.
So, like, when you in the beginning, like, I knew you were transcribing stuff. At first, I just
Yeah.
assumed like your perfect pitch is so perfect, you just know what all the pitches are and stuff.
No,
But
no, no.
yeah, no, like when I watch your videos, it's obvious that you kind of guess at certain things and then you kind of move things around, like when you're trying to sing microtonally, and then
Yeah.
when you explain how to notate, it's I didn't realize there's such like a puzzle solving element to this where like you don't have like perfect information. You
Right.
Yeah, and that seems to be part of the appeal for you too. Do you find the puzzle solving aspect of Zen to be satisfying or like part of the intrigue?
Oh, I love the puzzle solving element. In fact, I'm worried I'll become so intolerant to things that are easy for me that I'll only end up in the most abstract, bizarre spaces I can imagine. As I become an 80-year-old man, and like will only want to deal with something like 69 tone equal temperament or something. I don't know. Um,
Is
but yeah,
69 really difficult?
I don't know. I feel like it's not one people would use. I probably didn't pick a good one. Think of one that's too high that no one will use, and that's the one. Maybe I don't
310.
know. Not having perfect information is not only a big part of the appeal because it gets at the heart of your training. Oh, my wife is here. Hi. Is that for me? You're so nice and perfect. I love you. Say hi to Gordon.
Hello.
Apparently, I have a shamrock shake now.
Oh, nice.
I promise I didn't plan this at all. She's just that cool.
Oh my goodness.
But anyway,
Surprise Shamrock.
so about the perfect information thing, it's okay. So when you don't have perfect information, you make guesses at multiple angles, right? So it's not just about like hearing something and knowing what it is, but it's like with perfect pitch, you hear something and you're like, oh, that's a G something. With relative pitch, you're like, oh, that sounds like a fifth. With like the praxis, you're like, oh, probably these people are using this scale in this way. So if the rules were to contradict, this would happen. And if you have melodyne, then that tells you a certain pitch height, right? So there's like, I feel like becoming good at ear training for me has become about understanding all the different ways I can get clues from pitches about what they're supposed to be. But some people with perfect pitch who have never had to learn about relative pitch, they're just going on that perfect pitch thing, and then like anything that's not in 12, they just hate it. Which is a stereotype I wasn't even aware of, because I also learned about my perfect pitch really late, because my band teacher had perfect pitch, and I didn't know what it was. And he was just like recalling pitches, and I was like, oh, I think I can do that. So maybe I'll try it for a little bit. And then I trained myself to be able to do it essentially, but it could just be like a highly fast form of true pitch if you wanted to get pedantic about it, which you totally could, and I don't have the machinery to do that right now. I used to be more interested in it, but
So you don't have like synesthesia like some people do. You just have
well,
like
I have food synesthesia,
really?
which is very strange.
That's interesting.
Like, and sometimes it's really hard to activate and also not very consistent. So like sometimes if I hear something really new, I'll start to taste something. Like David Fiozinski's music makes me taste peaches for some reason.
What?
And some electronic microtonal music makes me taste like seaweed and bitter taste.
Yeah.
But I haven't like written any of these things down, unfortunately, and I'm also really bad at remembering them. But it's sometimes like Zen harmonic music will make me taste something, but it can also happen if like there's some really novel timbre, and I think it's highly relative. Like if I haven't heard anything interesting all day, and I hear something really interesting, I'm more likely to taste something than if I've been hearing interesting things all day.
You just have random tastes floating around in your mouth.
Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of like actually there's a very specific feeling I can describe if you'd like. You know how
Sure.
like I don't know if you have this. Some people have this and some people don't. But like when you have a dish in front of you and there's hot sauce on it and like your mouth is excited about the spice and it anticipates that and it like kicks into gear and like does a little bit of salivating and restructuring. It kind of feels like that, but then with taste added to it.
Why you
Do you know what I mean by
salivate?
that? Is that maybe like a little bit, but not like
But
in
you
a weird way.
feel a flavor, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
Exactly.
I think I might know what you're saying. It's like a subtle thing. Never even like. I never even tried to put words to it. That's kind of
I
interesting.
should write down my weird food things because I also really like combining weird food together. I don't like tomatoes. I really wish I did. But there's
Really?
lots of weird food that I try that's stinky, and my wife puts up with it because she's an angel from God, themselves. Like when she was gone on a vacation, I ate garlic and durians and fish and stuff. And I
Oh
hope I
wow.
cleaned up the house well enough so when she came back, it didn't smell bad.
Oh, you like? Oh, that food all smells. Oh, interesting. Did you eat
Yeah, the
it? Did you?
durian was a bit underwhelming,
You ate it all
just in terms of the
separately,
stink.
right? Not at once.
Yes, I did eat it all separately. The durian had such a weird texture that I put it into a fruit smoothie and shared it with people at work, and I was the only one who liked it. It was so sad. I really wish that
Man.
my brother had liked it, but he didn't.
So you're kind of adventurous with all your tastes then, or is it just food and music?
Maybe just food and music. I mean, I like weird philosophy books. I mean, I feel like in becoming a weirder person, I've become like very cognizant of what it means to be surface level weird, and I only want like the insane stuff, you know?
Oh,
So
really?
that
So
makes me look
you
deeply
push
unhinged to a lot of people.
for the deepest level of weird you can achieve.
Yes, I say eating a shamrock shake.
I don't think I've ever even heard of a Shamrock Shake. What is that flavor?
Um, it's well, what's funny is there's whipped cream on top.
Uh-huh.
So I'm mostly getting whipped cream, but it's like a nice ice cream flavor. So I think it's kind of like vanilla, whipped cream. I don't know.
Yeah, Xeno Index wants to know what interval is Shamrock Shake.
What interval is Shamrock Shake? Wait. I have to take a bite of it and then picture a chord that I really like. Hold on. I think I'm picturing an A7 chord with a sharp 9.
Really?
But that's just kind of stupid. I don't know.
Is it? I don't know how to evaluate that at all.
Yeah, I tried to picture something that would ring, and then it had that spice on top. I think I picture sharp 9 chords an inordinate amount of time, and that's why I'm obsessed with them. They're also really fun because you can spell them right, but they break jazz, as you know. And in microtonal tunings, of course, the spelling of them becomes really interesting as well.
Right, because it's not enharmonic.
Yeah.
But in tunings where they're not enharmonic, you probably have multiple options, right?
Yeah. In fact, I haven't really separated those options effectively. What I mean by that is, there's a thing that I like to do that's very enharmonic, where if I have a equal temperament and there's a type of chord in 12th tet that you could translate into it, I try and give that multiple interpretations in that new tuning. So it would be that's a new puzzle for me, is thinking of a nice small tuning where I could have two sharp 9, like dominant sharp 9 chords that are as different from each other as possible while still having to be sharp 9 chords. You know, something
Yeah.
like that.
I feel like 15 Ito would be a fun tuning to do that kind of thing in. Like with the
Yeah, that would be really
extensions. It's got the two nines and
Yeah.
I guess two sevens as well.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't be too convoluted of a starting
It's
point.
so funny being in the stream for the first time because I've seen your stream multiple times, and I'm so happy you're doing this because I feel like the more people we have doing this at once, the more different kinds of people we'll get talking about microtonality, and the process just builds up from there.
Yeah.
The process you describe in listening to Now and Zen is a process that I felt as well, like listening to Sevish's music and seeing the Yahoo tuning guys talk about temperament and hearing some other stuff.
Yeah.
You know? So if we all just keep doing it, it will sort of build on itself and get bigger and bigger. And the advances that have been made already are so huge. Like when I was in college too, you know, we didn't have Dorico music notation software, which I could unfairly rave about. But like just, you know, 10 years ago, like I wasn't even picturing like notating my own music and playing it on my own instruments or anything. And now I feel like it's mostly there with some workarounds, but like the workarounds aren't too bad.
Right. So you've seen a lot change since you started. Because
It's changed so much. Oh my god.
Because when you started, there was no Lumitone. It wasn't easy to notate stuff. What about like just the general popularity of microtonality? Has that kind of exploded since you've been involved?
Well, I think what's happened is I don't know if microtonality will ever become a part of mainstream music making in the same way 12-tone equal temperament has. And I don't think we necessarily need to hunger for that, but I do think it should be more appreciated as like a music nerd phenomenon. I think even maybe 10 years ago, if you like walked up to the average music nerd and was like, "Oh, you're interested in a bunch of stuff, right?" And they would be like, "Yeah, I'm interested in music production. I'm interested in augmented sixth chords. I'm interested in this. I'm interested in that." And then you were like, "What about microtonality?" They'd be like, "That's not good. Oh no, Jesus doesn't like it." You know.
Right.
So and now microtonality isn't popular, but it is like it's correctly assumed its home among like a file cabinet of music nerd interests. Like it's finally earned that spot after all this time.
I see. Yeah. Right.
And another thing to mention, which I would love to talk about, is the chest pain band. If you've seen them with the polka dots and John Day
Yes.
One.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They okay. So they're breaking the internet, and I love it. I almost want to make another video about them. I said I was only gonna make one, and I transcribed Sarnia's. And then everyone has been begging me in the comments to do more stuff, and I'm like, but man, I don't know.
Why
Like
not?
they are a genuine victory in mainstream culture because like so often, if something is popular and the normal people find it weird, they'll be like, "Look, here's this weird thing," and it's just totally normal. But Engine de Pertuis is like actually breaking the internet and actually legitimately weird and microtonal. Like that's insane. I don't know.
One thing I find interesting about them, like I mean, they're obviously playing microtonal guitars or like the double guitar or whatever. But the like with a lot of artists, a lot of microtonal artists now, it's like microtonality is the gimmick. But with them,
Right.
the larger gimmick is the costumes and the
Right.
identity, and the microtonality is just sort of like a facet of that. So
Yes. You kind of have like a hierarchy of gimmicks. I think people get mad at gimmicky stuff for legitimate reasons because they like see it as a way to get a foot in the door without really earning it or having it not really be connected to the music. But you know, if you analyze things down to their elements, you'd figure out that really everything is a gimmick of some sort because you've got to put yourself out there in some way, and every single thing that can be assumed is a gimmick to whatever nth degree it is. So it's really nice that they managed to weave that into their entire thing. I just read a dissertation about how microtonality must be inherently connected to world building, and dang it, I'm blanking on the guy's name, but he was one of those people on Facebook who's just like very non-American and was like, "Here's my dissertation, please read it." And I was like, "Okay." And then I read it like 2 days ago, and it was really good. It talked about Craig Grady's music a lot, so I wonder if he
interesting.
wants to talk about Engine de Portoine and put them in there with their weird made-up language and stuff. I've been digging them more since I heard the KXP performance. Like it's really like it makes me think. I'm hoping that a bunch of people are going to start like looping really creatively using meter now. I'm sure that's been done more in the past, but yeah, there's tons of interesting things about them that aren't just the microtonality, but the microtonality is an extremely interesting element.
Yeah. And it's cool too. I mean, anytime like an artist breaks out and they're doing microtonal stuff, it's gonna draw more attention to that.
I should have asked to interview them back in 2024. I heard them back then and I was like, "Huh, these guys are kind of cool. I wonder if I'll listen to them again." And here we are.
Oh, you knew about them before they were cool.
Yes, but just barely. It was because my Sweetwater representative sent me this and he was like, "Hey, some microtonal stuff. I thought of you." And I was like, "Huh, great." But I didn't like understand that live they are just absolutely killing that. Like they are so tight that it almost, I don't know, like you can get so tight that it feels like it's been quantized. Like they feel like that to me.
Oh
They're
yeah.
just ridiculous.
Well, I guess maybe it's easier to achieve that as a two piece too.
Yes.
You have done some collaborative stuff like at Ball State. You had like I guess a group, or did you compose some stuff with some musicians there, other students, I think. And
Yeah.
have you ever done like a band or?
I'm working on building one. I only need one more piece. And that last piece is an interchangeable fretboard for my electric guitar, which I have the parts for, and I have to figure out how to print. Um,
Yeah.
I assume that I can. I'm hoping that I can say his name here, but that effort is very much indebted to Wilkerson Ganda, who completely figured out the 3D printing element, and sent me the files without me having to do any work. So I have them, and I'm figuring out how to print them at my local library. It's roughly number 57 or so on my to-do list. So I'm very excited to get to it, especially because I'm going to a conference in May in Germany about microtonality called Untwelving, and I promise to bring the guitar so that I will force myself to create it by the time I get there. So that'll be good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so if we have that guitar, and there's the Lumitone, and my fretless bass and drums, that's enough for a four-piece that can just cover microtonal music in, whatever equal temperament seems ridiculous enough for the time. We wouldn't switch that often, but I don't think such an ensemble has ever even been conceived, because you'd assume that with all the instruments you have, it would be impossible, or, not doable with, like, the traditional piano and guitar setup. But I'm really excited to launch that and not only use it as a vehicle for composition, but also for doing some of the covers that I've done in the past, because I realize I'm making a bunch of stuff, and I've just been relentlessly doing new stuff a million times, and I'm excited for that to eventually settle down into, like, me not having to make any more new stuff, because most of the new stuff that I've wanted to make is done. I'd say I'm about a third through the new things I want to do, maybe.
You do a lot of stuff. Like
Yeah, man.
you
It's
compose,
crazy.
you lecture, you do like educational video. I mean, how do you manage your time? Like, it's insane.
I think time management for me, honestly, is just dead. Like,
Oh yeah.
I just I show up to things that I'm there, and it's great. And if I'm jazzed, it's even better. But I've also been trying to do stuff that's not necessarily related to microtonality. So a lot of how I make my living is just through being a normal 12-tet musician. But most of the microtonal stuff I've been doing, support-wise, has come from Patreon and doing transcription jobs. So that's been really exciting. For those of you Mercury Tree fans who ordered your transcription and never got it, I should say that basically everything is done, and due to extenuating circumstances, those things haven't been checked. So there will be some key visit I pay to Ben where we hang out and talk and hash those out. So, things like that that I do here and there. That's been what I've been doing most of the time. I mean, when it comes to time management, I just I try and think about things that are due next week, and a lot of them aren't too hard. So I do the easy stuff as quick as I can, and then I try to make some room for the hard stuff, which is, sitting alone in the music room, generating really interesting microtonal music, generally.
Yeah, on my stream we did this 343 EDO contest, and
Oh, this,
I
yeah.
was super happy that you decided to participate, and you actually won that contest. But you were pretty busy at the time, and you were saying you weren't sure if you could do it, and then you did a live stream where you kind of like mathed out what you were going to write, and you
Yeah.
conceived of the piece and wrote it, I think, in just like a couple, 2, 3 days or something.
Yeah, it had to be pretty quick.
And that
Yeah.
was like the winning piece. And I'm kind of astounded how quickly you were able to go from conception to realization. And I'm curious, like, when you're writing music, is it often like that? Do you just, I mean, you seem like a very concept driven composer, if that makes any sense. Like,
Yes.
there's an idea behind what you're writing, or that you're either exploring, and it seems to almost like the structure seems to follow from that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's really fair to say, and that's absolutely what I would call it. I would say that, yeah, I'm generally a concept-driven composer, and sometimes I compose things and they're fast. And generally, if things are fast, it's because there's a deadline. I do like to spend more time on it when possible, but some things you can spend as much time on it as you want, and some things not so much. So I think in my life, what I've been doing now is I've been spending as much time as I want on things that don't have a deadline, because I want to, like, see those out to their conclusion, and then things that do have a deadline are maybe a little bit more rushed. I would say that I've got so many ideas sitting around in my back pocket that I feel like haven't been done by a lot of people that I can just arbitrarily get to them and affix them to compositions. But that's not as special as having some kind of overarching concept. So, um, I mean, those overarching concepts are what people could call gimmicks. But sometimes they're aesthetic candy. Great example is the Emoji album. Um, so I decided, I think, at a certain point that I want the pieces that I want to create on my own time that take lots of time. I want those to be albums that have an overarching concept that runs through the work really effectively, like the Emoji album. Because the Emoji album did something none of my other musical work did. It was like people were coming out of the woodwork to talk to me about it, and I realized that I had done something special with that. Um, so really, the concept is how you sell the album, right? This kind of ensemble, this kind of group hasn't been done before. It's like what people do when they talk about genre. And then the microtonality is just another element of that. So, that can range from really consonant to wildly dissonant and everywhere in between. And I just really enjoy exploring the spectrum of all of those sounds. I think if I wrote an album that was like only consonant or only dissonant, I would have failed because I want to try and capture uh, a high amount of experiences, but also not make it so big that like it sounds like everything is disparate. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So that's a really interesting and difficult balance to try and achieve in any compositional work.
Yeah, your focus is so multifaceted, like, do you ever wish you could just do one thing or a couple things, or
Oh God, yes.
if if you don't mind sharing, if you could just say, okay, look, the money thing is taken care of. I can just do what I
Oh,
want. This is what I want to do as a musician, as an artist. Do you, or for the microtonal, for the world, whatever. What do you think that would be? What's like the
God.
most? What's like the thing you would do the most? Want to focus on the most?
That's such a good question because I think the things that I focus on all have really different reasons, actually. So I'm trying to decide what order to write them in, and I think all of the reasons are really strong and valid and come from different directions. For example, Post Conditional Love, the choir album that I'm working on that will use like every equal temperament notated and will make George Crumb look like the Eagles. Um, that is something I want to write because like I want to hear those choral sounds and like I want to see that notation on paper and I want the music to be pushed in that direction. Like that's where I want it to go. But then in another part of my mind I'm like, "Oh, my family is going to hate this. I need to write something that they'll like." And then I like and I haven't done that yet, right? So I guess a lot of the things that I do come from finding out what's good about a particular piece of music, and I think to me that transcends genre. And I also think that the labels we use to describe genre very poorly describe quality, as well as, what the actual genre is itself. Like, it's so fluid, and you can't, like, it's so hard to say, like, oh, if this music has X, it's bad. Like, that just seems really absurd to me. So I've been, pumping myself up about the kind of different things I'm doing, and it's a big
What?
thing. I mostly would want to focus on one thing just for the convenience of being a person who does one thing and being known for that. I wouldn't want to like live in that world in a legitimate way, but like just for the sheer like marketing and how like people will pigeonhole you and that's all they want to do. Like it would be so easy to be just like a one type of music kind of person. And maybe I think I would do something like jazz or a cappella music. Um, because jazz is allowed to be harmonically complicated. And a cappella music involves the human voice, and I just find that a really compelling instrument in a way that it's hard for other instruments to match, I'd say, just because of the complexity.
Yeah. So you did cut out for a second, but I think I got the gist of what you were saying. And if I understand correctly, basically you're saying you're pretty much doing what you want to do. It's hard for you to pin down one thing. Maybe if you did, it wouldn't really be for yourself. It would be more for the money, I guess, or
Yeah, there's some things I do that I do for myself, and some things I explicitly do for other people, because I think like oh, the community needs this. If they don't have this, they have nothing in this area. And that's very common in microtonality, as you know. So
Yeah.
actually, it can be a starting point for me to be like, oh, there's no like vaporwave jazz fusion in 18 EDO yet. Uh,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, like, and it's such low hanging fruit with microtonality. It's not even fair. You can just like mash up like four genres and say a microtonal tuning, and there's like a 99% chance no one's done it.
Yeah. That brings me to another question. Like, obviously, you can have microtonal music in any genre, but do
Yeah.
you feel that there is sort of like a microtonal scene, and maybe not a pure genre, but like a microtonal meta genre? Kind of like how in video game music like spans different styles, but it's all like bound by similar like means, like it's all limited to the same hardware and stuff. Do you feel that's the case for microtonal music as well?
That is an excellent question, and I really love the video game music analogy because it's like the means by which you get there, right, are similar in each case. So I would say that I'm not calling microtonal music a genre, but I understand why people might want to use the label that way. And it would be fair, like I wouldn't really correct them too much, but maybe you press them on what they mean and they might not have a lot to say. Which makes sense, it's relatively underexplored. Um, I would say that microtonality is very genre freeing. Actually, sometimes even explicitly so. In the conference that I'm going to, the Untwelving conference in Germany in May, it says, like, in the liner notes, like, very explicitly in a few bullet points, like, any genre welcome. So, I think there's a real passion among microtonalists to not be inhibited by genre. And in some sense, I feel that for myself, but I realize it can only go so far. But again, the things that I don't like aren't things that genre describes well. I don't like repetitive things or stupid things. And I don't like things that don't make me feel something. So that's really vague, right?
Right, but it's also kind of gets to the heart of the matter, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess microtonality is like, yeah, maybe you could call it a meta genre, similarly to video game music. I think probably video game music is more bound by constraints, assuming that you experience it within the context of a video game. But of course, you can take it out of that context and experience it differently as well. In microtonal music, it's just generating music that isn't in 12-tone equal temperament. So it might imply that you're not using an established Western system, that kind of thing. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I was also thinking like, if people who are in a microtonality too, and I mean, this is maybe less to do with genre and kind of also getting into like just the idea of community or there being like a scene, but like, it seems like a lot of microtonal music lovers, they know about a lot of the same people. Like most microtonalists know about you, for instance, you're like a central figure, or they know about Savish or Zia, or, there's a bunch of names of just like people who are well known in this world. And then there's also like common gear. Like there's only one good or a couple good microtonal notation softwares. You can use MuseScore or Dorico. It's pretty much it. And then there's only so much microtonal gear. Like you either have to somehow afford a Lumitone or, get like a hex board or something, or
the hex board sounds awesome. I saw your video on it that you did with the guy. I'm so sorry that I'm forgetting his name. There's more people than ever.
Jared, I think. Yeah.
Jared, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's amazing.
Oh, had you not seen that before?
Well, I'd seen it, but I saw that you posted a software update.
Oh, no, that's something else. That's the hexatone.
Oh, that's the hexatone.
That works.
Hexatone, hexaboard.
Yeah, it's too much.
I assumed they were the same.
No, the hexatone, you use it with the Lumitone. So, you know how, like, right now, you have to, like, if you wanted to put, like, if you had, like, a big tuning, you'd have to put, like, a bunch of different instances of one synth. Like, one for, like, different channels.
Yeah.
So, like, with the hexatone, you can have, like, one synth running, and it'll just use that, and you can play it on the whole board.
Yeah, that's great.
Even like
I think Infinitone does that as well, but I'd forget how cumbersome it is.
Yeah, Hexatone's free though, but that's
Ah,
yeah,
an
yeah.
excellent point.
But Infinitone is awesome. I would like it, but I haven't bought it yet.
I'm
Um,
surprised that I was able to get the Lumitone. I was really lucky. Um, and I'm really glad that I have it. Even though I know it's a bit of a controversial instrument, due to the price and not having its own synth. But you know, it's really an amazing tool, and I do definitely think of it as my default microtonal keyboard. Like there really is no other one that comes close to what it does.
yeah, it's amazing. It's basically like microtonal piano. Like you, because it actually has the visual correspondence to what you're playing. You
Yeah,
know, I mean, you can set it
it
up differently, but
it feels so different from piano too. And the
it
thing that I tell
does. Yeah.
people, which shocks them, is that I'd rather play like Halberstadt rearranged piano, where the keys are in a different order, if it's small, than play Lumitone in many cases, because it just feels so different. But the distances are really well composed so that I feel like I can play like an octave that's 7 notes away, but if I have an 8 note scale, I could also play something like that.
Yeah,
As an
yeah,
octave.
you make those key like the 17 tech keyboard and stuff, and they have gaps between the white keys. Do you ever like snag on those?
They do have gaps. I don't snag on the gaps too much unless I'm not looking. And then my finger can get a bit wedged in there, but usually it's not enough of a problem for me that I feel like eliminating them, especially because like everything I'm using that for is just like a niche project of my own that I feel like I'm developing in a laboratory without other humans. And we mentioned the band earlier. I would love to be able to experience this in like a live setting with people like a lot more often. I just have to rely on like these conferences here and there to do that. Like I might only get to play microtonal music live like 3 times a year. Like that's terrible. We got to do better.
I've never played microtonal music live, unless you count my
Oh
stream.
my god,
Unless
you
you count
have
my
to do it.
stream, but yeah, that doesn't count. Um, I don't even know how I would do it. I'd have to. I don't know how I would do it. I mean, I have a Lumitone, but I'd have to. I don't have a laptop.
Oh yeah, I hear about some microtonal musicians who kind of like, if they're in a band, they kind of like sort of plant it in their band a little bit covertly, and if the band is cool, they like do it.
I did a
Um,
little bit of that in my old band, but I was the only one doing microtonal, and I was just retuning my keyboard, so it
right,
was like 12 plus.
right, exactly. That's kind of the situation you get a lot of the time. I'm in a band, but it's too big and too ambitious to use microtonality, and we play a lot of pretty normal songs.
Yeah,
So slipping that in is just like at that point it's just extra work and it's so marginal. I feel like if microtonality is injected into an ensemble, it should like really matter. Which unfortunately also will make it, I think, less palatable for people who aren't that adventurous. And sometimes the results really surprise me. Like I kind of treat microtonal sonorities and chords and packages as little experiments, and I'll play them for people and be like, well, how palatable was that for you? And I try and figure out information about what their ears like, because sometimes I'll play something for someone and I'll be like, oh god, this is so dissonant. They'll probably just put it right in the toilet like Hank Hill with his toilet sounds, and then they'll be like, oh, that was actually kind of nice. You should write more like that. And I'm like, what? And
really.
then sometimes I'll play something and I'm like, oh, this is bland enough to cause my cat to fall asleep. And then someone will be like, oh, I couldn't deal with that. That sounded like a car horn.
Do you,
People are
do,
really funny.
do you talk to your folks about microtonal stuff, like your parents and family and all that?
Well, my parents, they aren't really into music, so I don't really talk to them about that stuff in anything theory related, but I do talk to them about like whatever music things I'm doing, and then if that involves microtonality, then that's cool. Like for example, they're really excited about the Germany trip because
Oh
I was
yeah,
going to go to Estonia on a particular year, and that was going to be my first international one. But then because of COVID and the world being terrible, I didn't get to go because of the plane flights getting canceled and all of that stuff.
yeah.
Um, but now, hopefully, if we're not dead by May, um, I'll get to go to Germany. So that'll be really exciting. And I talked to
Nice.
my coworkers are musicians, so some of them understand the potential and some of them do not. They're all pretty impressed with it. And some of them would like to engage with it more, but unfortunately, I'm just so darn busy that it's really hard to get people into it. I find that a successful formula for me is to like create a project where like I know all the harmonic rules and have prepared guide tracks and done everything. And then you put the adventurous people in there with a guide track and just say, "Oh yeah, just do what this guide track says. Here's some notation that's probably pretty close or whatever." And that's how I get people like Clarissa and Katie, who you may have seen on my YouTube channel in particular songs. Clarissa did that one that was my last use of the pink keyboard before I sold it to Ground. That was All I Want for Christmas Is You in 16 tone equal temperament, where it just sounded like that was just like the greatest thing
Nice.
ever. And then Shamrock Shake Cough. And then Katie was in our version of Dreams that we have played in Just Intonation, which actually is one of the few microtonal things that gets played live, but it's very, very Zen light.
Oh yeah.
But it's not so Zen light that it's undetectable, I guess.
Let's see. Yeah. That's how you get it started, I guess. Hey, are you working on any big albums or anything? Are you doing a lecture over in Germany, or are you just going to the conference and hanging out? Or
Yeah, I'm doing a lecture in Germany, perhaps even several. And I'm hoping to play with the people there, which include Tacky Bunker, Hair Between the Lines, Tolgahan Cholu. I won't be playing with him; he's too cool, but he's gonna be there. And Philip Gerslauer. Oh my god! So
wow,
yeah,
that's cool.
Philip is someone I have agreed to have on Now and Zen already. In fact, he was supposed to kind of be the next episode, but we've both been really busy. And as we got more busy, our emails got shorter. But
He's been
I
on
am really
before,
excited
hasn't
to
he?
see him there.
You did
Yeah, yeah.
interview him before, though, right?
No, I haven't interviewed him for Now and Zen.
Oh no, I think. Okay, I think I got confused. You interviewed like a guitarist that played with him.
Yes, Dave Fiuzinski played with him, and Here Between the Lines has played with him. So actually, he's come up an
He's come up
incredible
a
number
lot,
of times
yeah.
for not being on the show.
I
He might
see.
be mentioned in like 6 episodes, but
Yeah,
he's
that's
never been
probably what
on.
it is.
So he's an example of a person who'd be quite overdue.
Yeah, for
Whenever he
sure.
wants to come on. So because there's like overdue people, and then there's like new people, and it's really hard to figure out like who's first in line. But
Sure. Yeah.
making podcast episodes is it's something I like to do, but I'd say lately it's kind of taken a back seat. I kind of go through these cycles where like if I'm doing less, this is back to time management. If I'm doing like less composery stuff and less things with microtonality with instruments, I'll sort of do a podcast stuff instead. So you see like these sort of swings where like every 3 months or so I'll do like a few episodes. That's kind of excuse me. That's kind of been the rhythm of how things have gone. So
Yeah. You working on another album or composing anything? Or?
oh yes, I'm sorry, I didn't answer that question from earlier. I've been working on a post-conditional love the most, but I'm not convinced that I want to make it first. But the German thing and Un12, not Untwelving, it's different. The Un12 Praxis Summer Camp,
Yeah.
which now is being run by Kite, of all
Oh,
people.
cool.
That should get all you Discord folks excited. I'm going to both of those, somehow. And at the June Un12, Mark Johnson will be there, and he helped with the Chrysalid Requiem. I got to meet him last summer, and he has one of the sharpest senses of pitch I've ever seen. It was quite a joy to sing with him, and then like have us have the same realization about the intonation at the same time, and then say it at the same time.
Oh,
And he's a
nice.
Johnston notation genius. Like if you know how hedgy that notation system for JI has like an online calculator, which is one of the main reasons I use it, is because I can just cheat code calculate it all. Mark Johnson has built his own Johnston notation calculator, which does the same thing, but I don't believe it's online anywhere. But he like uses it to get crazy pitches and reads in Johnston. And there's like an entire culture where like Mark and Thomas and Eleanor are like Toby Twining disciples, and they have hard Toby Twining music, and they pull it out and all sing it. And I was like trying desperately to join them and hopefully fit in enough at the last camp. And that was very invigorating. It was crazy.
Nice. That's cool.
One of the coolest experiences I've had in a long time. So, and like, you know, this is a choir guy, right? And this is a choir thing. So I'm hoping I can show up and have some choir things, and people can record them, and we can get like the sound of the room, and it's not just me singing over and over.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
So that's one reason why post-conditional love is kind of getting priority. But composition has actually been like so far on the back burner that it's disgusting. I've just been writing down like fragments of ideas, and occasionally I'll get to something that I've already worked on and be like, man, where was I going with this? And it feels kind of disconnected, but I'm also rounding the corner on the amount of transcriptions I want to do. You mentioned solving puzzles earlier.
Yeah.
There's pretty much two more things I want to transcribe recreationally, and that is Simon the Magpie's X-Fretted Guitar video and Promastic's song from Luna Octava in Zero EDO called Miasma, because I have no idea how I would transcribe that, but it's really zen. It's so
Interesting.
good. So they just have to send me the files. But the punishment, of course, is that if they just never send me the files for eternity, then I just will never transcribe it. So it all depends on them responding to their DMs.
That would be a terrible punishment.
That'd be a tragedy.
Yeah,
I would cry.
I kind of believe you. I
Very
almost
good.
believe you.
Yes.
Very nice, dude. You've done so many. Also, if anyone has any questions for Steven who's watching, please ask.
Oh gosh,
But
yes. I
hey-
can't see the chat, but I assume Gordon will relay the questions.
I will. Please let me. But I do have maybe one or two more for you. Unless you're in a rush to get out of here. But
Oh, I'm not in a rush. I should also mention, before you go on with another question, that other plans for albums I have are like a traditional sounding jazz album that sounds like it was recorded in a much earlier area, or a much earlier era, I should say, but it's just really zen harmonic. Um, and then I also want to do like albums of songs that I can play with my microtonal band, and I probably want about two of those. That feels like a good amount to have. So then if I had those four albums made, I would feel much more complete as a human being. But the problem is I have so many cover songs that if you assemble my cover songs into albums, there's like nine or eight albums worth there. And I'm just like, oh, I already have too much stuff. So what do we do?
I mean, it's a good thing you're doing these transcriptions and stuff because, like, I've been learning the Blair Benzel 31 Edo stuff that you posted.
Yes, no way, that's awesome.
Yeah, I learned like the first one on that video already, or
That's incredible. And you
Oh.
get like a chain reaction where like Blair learned Zia and then you are learning
Yeah.
Blair. It's beautiful.
yes, absolutely. I might try to learn some Aziz stuff eventually, but yeah, like I mean, it's just cool to have stuff notated because you don't have to just translate stuff from 12 into some tuning, or you don't have to just write everything out of the blue. And if your ear isn't pristine and or you're not as into that debacle of like figuring it out,
Right.
it's just such a great resource, And
Yeah.
just the fact that you do that and several others do that too. But anytime someone shares notation, it's such a valuable resource to musicians who want to learn how to actually play this stuff.
Absolutely. And I'm also like weirdly cognizant of like the impact that my style has had on some writings on the wiki and things like that. Like sometimes people are referencing my transcriptions as if they're the definitive manuscript. For that tuning, and like for some really rare ones, you could run into that situation, like the Brian Deister ones.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, I did want to ask you too, like you've done so many different tunings and stuff, and I've kind of asked you about this before, but like it seems like you have, like, do you have tuning preferences? And
Oh, that's a great question.
also like, well, and also like I've kind of asked you about this before, like I've noticed sometimes you seem to prefer tunings that are puzzling notationally,
Oh, of course.
and that seems removed from the sound. So I guess this is sort of like a layered question, because do you have tuning preferences, and then like is there a difference between your preference for a tuning sound and your preference for the tuning because it is sort of a conundrum, like it's stimulating to you? Like, do you see those two things differently, or can you not like disentangle those?
Oh, that's a really good question. Like potentially whether I would want to separate them or if I've even thought about that. I don't think I've thought of the act of blending or separating them in my mind, but simply sort of value them as particular quirks. And when it comes to the tuning preferences that I do have, I mean, I like to be able to express most anything, and a lot of the time, with smaller tunings, you get a particular character, but you also get certain constraints. So I would say that I generally don't want to work with tunings that have so many notes that I don't understand what the constraints are, and I can't use that to inform myself, which is really funny considering some of the tuning systems used on the Emoji album. Um, but you know, I I generally use what's at hand and the things that I know, and I almost consider those as traditional as 12 in some sense. So, like on my channel, you'll probably find, because I have microtonal guitars in 15, 19, and 31, and they, have notation that I understand pretty well, you'll see like an inordinate number of things that use those tunings, especially since like 31 is such a hot topic, so a lot of people use that. But I mean, in general, I guess I'm interested in the tunings I know for being able to think in them effectively and exploit them, kind of like how I do in 12. And I'm also interested in tunings I haven't explored at all to discover what potential they may have and how their intervals may add up in a funny way and what sorts of new things I can discover. And there's lots of tunings that I still haven't worked with almost at all. For example, there could be a live performance in April of Fly Me to the Moon in 29-tone equal temperament with me and a trumpet player, because 29-tone equal temperament's diatonic scale, I think, sounds close enough to 12-tone equal temperament that we can pull it off. I just have to do some like really weird harmony underneath. And I'm finding, I think tunings that I can think in easily are good for like subverting common tropes, but tunings that further more exploration, they're great for puzzles. So like 37 is the best puzzle, right? Because it's completely broken, and it's like the largest tuning you can get that still expresses most microtonal inflection while also being fundamentally broken logically. And it can also do like fifths and that kind of thing. So that would be an example of a tuning that I really enjoy for that reason. And weirdly, like, the preferences are all mixed together. Like when I made my silly tier list, like I put like, I don't know, I'm thinking I put 15, 19, 26, and 37 at the top, right? Like probably.
It was
I don't
something
even
like
know.
that, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've always had a really soft spot for 15, and there is also something about like Easily Blackwood really enjoying 15 in a special way. I didn't really like see that and think, wow, he was onto something. But after working with it for a while, I really like how 15 does triads compactly, but Zen harmonically. So it
Yeah.
feels like 12, but it's so different. And with 17 and 19, I feel like you get things that triadically can feel a bit closer to 12. 17's less close, but 15 feels so different, and yet you still get that major minor stuff baked in.
Yeah, like 17 and 19, they have like the diatonic scales. 15, its closest thing is nice tone, which is really, it's nice tone is kind of weird. Because like if you yeah.
Another way to get tunings too, that I'm interested in, is to think about how I can exploit them on instruments. So like 16 and 18, for example, are subsets of 48 and 36, and not enough people do that. Not enough people exploit that, but I plan to do that a lot. Another album I want to make is just like a guitar focused album, you know. So that would be really cool to use like 18 and 16 there.
Yeah. Nice. So it does sound like your tuning preferences they're often like pragmatic. Like
yeah, they would be rooted in practicality.
It's not necessarily like oh, like this tuning, I love the way its major seventh chord sounds. You seem so open-minded that it's more like you understand there's something to every tuning. What can I actually work with? That seems to be your mindset. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's definitely a way I would put it. Although there definitely have been some times where I'm like playing in a tuning and I get a certain chord and I'm like, ooh, that's a good one. You got to keep that one. You know,
right?
How I feel about a lot of sharp 9 chords. Definitely.
Awesome. All right, we do have some questions. Zeno Index asks or says, "Grats on 80K views on the Engine de Portoine transcription. Gonna do more of those." We were talking about this earlier. I think you already answered this. Would be an easy YouTube win algorithm-wise. Well, that's another vote for that.
God, that's a great... Man.
Easy YouTube win.
David Bennett used my transcription today, by the way. Today, he released a video, and it has my transcription in it. It's absolutely insane. I don't know if that's bringing more people in. I'd find that when other people feature a video, it's more marginal than like actually like drawing it directly from the viral content. But I did see that I think someone else transcribed Sherpa, so
Interesting.
then there's only a few left. And other people have transcriptions. Angina is so popular that there are guitar tabs out there, and I'm now that would be an easy win for the algorithm, but I view that as something now that other people will get to. So I'm not really as necessary for it. But I'd love to have the time to do that. I just, I've got other things to do. But man, I don't know. Maybe I should make a YouTube video about how much I like them, and that'll get a lot of views. That's what Rick Beato did, and he's a gajillia billionaire.
Yeah. Yeah, his
Yes.
video already got over 1 million views. I was like, what?
It's crazy, yeah. The KEXP comments, I think, are people being like, "Oh, the more 1 million views are people who are repeat listening." So if we listen to that video over and over again, we can get it very, very, very popular.
Yeah.
Oh,
Delta Quartz. Sorry if y'all can hear my dog in the background. She's got a
oh, can
cough.
I say one more thing that
Yeah,
I
of
forgot
course.
about my tuning
Please.
preferences?
Absolutely.
Actually,
Please.
there are tunings I don't like. I don't like small tunings that have very, very few amounts of notes because I feel like there's too many constraints there for me to really write something that feels chromatic. I usually like things that are chromatic, but I feel like it is a good device very often, and I have done things in like 5 and 7, and I mean the macrotonal etudes that I wrote, they use 5 and 7, so like I'm not opposed to it. I just like see that as having very little innovative material in the pitch department, and I would mostly use those smaller tunings like for practical reasons. Actually,
Yeah, like it seems like being familiar maybe with like 5 Ito or 7 Ito, it's helpful to understand like larger tunings that include them, like 15 or 14 or whatever. But yeah,
yeah, and I don't say like 5 and 7. Like I enjoy using them when I can. It's just not that like I don't like sit at home and go, man, I should really break some new ground with 5 EDO. That's just not how I feel. Like that's not where the
yeah.
ground is broken to me. But they're really important concepts, as you mentioned. And I'm always really happy to encounter them whenever they're there.
Yes. Very nice. Okay. Delta Quartz says, what was Steven's musical background like overall? Like, when did he start learning music? What did he listen to growing up, etc.? Please, Steven, give us your what did you start on piano?
Yeah. I started on piano, and I think I started taking piano lessons when normal kids would take it when I was like 7. Um, and when I grew up, um, a lot of the music I listened to was very like I would say like the Beatles was a pretty big influence for me. And then I also listened to a lot of singer-songwriter stuff. So I really like things like Simon and Garfunkel. When I tried to learn guitar, I mean, I was 10 when I would take guitar lessons, but then as a teenager, I bought like this big solo book and tried to like learn all the solos. So that got me into rock music for a while. I really like things like Chicago, like 25 or 6 to 4. So I think as a kid, I always went for like those older arrangements where like the songs are really eloquently written and there's like a lot going on, like Earth, Wind, and Fire, also Stevie Wonder. Those were big for me. So I think those, comprise some of my influences, but I definitely would go through phases where like I listen to a bunch of like a certain thing because I'm doing a particular thing, and that hasn't stopped. Right now, I'm listening to a bunch of Georgian music. I mean, not right now, but like in this relative time frame. That would be wild if I was doing it now. I'm not that efficient yet, but
You don't have
people are
that
sending
playing
me.
in your background
Yeah, I'm playing in
in
here during
in
the
your
thing.
headphones.
People
Yeah.
are sending me Georgian music left and right that I wasn't aware of because of my Georgian music theory video. So now I'm listening to a lot of Georgian music, and it is very cool.
It
And
is
a lot of
cool.
it is a cappella. So I also went through I think a big phase in high school where like I was really into a cappella music. Stuff like Zane Rendell Strooper, Eric Whitaker, or I don't know, Jay Althouse, if you want. Just that stuff that high schoolers sing that is pretty good. I don't know if Ola Jello counts. And so like Vosis 8, they I think come from that vein where like I just have had a long held appreciation for like beautiful a cappella music. I think I came to jazz like really late. which is funny because like I'm a jazz sinner. Which is funny considering its origins. I haven't listened to like all the jazz records you're supposed to listen to be like modern jazz or TM, but I like listen to jazz that's made in 2025, and none of the old cats know about any of that shit at all. So I'm like, hey, did you listen to the new Mary Halverson album? And they're like, who's Mary Halverson? And I'm like, who's Mary Halverson?
She's a great guitar player. Yeah.
Yeah, she's insane. I'm seeing her again in a week.
Awesome. Did you play in bands and stuff when you were a kid, or were you were you a shredder or not? Were you a big
Well, I would always
practicer?
shred on piano. I was never a guitar shredder. I mean, like, I can shred on guitar, but it always feels like so much more work to me. And I think in order to play, like, a really blazing, crazy guitar thing, I would have to really rehearse it and figure it out and, like, feel like I had done it a lot. And on piano, I think I have much more of a natural affinity for it. And I also liked finding chords and messing around on piano way more. So,
Yeah.
I was the classic kid who like was like, okay, here's your Beethoven sonata to practice. And then I go in the practice room, and then for like an hour I'm coming up with weird chords. And then I'm practicing Beethoven for like 20 minutes. And it's not quite good enough. That kind of thing. And I have
Yeah.
some students like that now too, and it totally makes sense because coming up with new chords is just so fun. It's a natural vehicle for composition. I didn't play in
Yes.
any. I mean, I played in lots of like ragtag groups for various random events. Like, I played at like a diamond store and churches and outside at parks and that kind of thing. But I was never part of like a group.
I see.
Until I was, doing things in school. Like I did chamber choir and jazz band and a lot of that stuff. Mostly chamber choir and jazz band. And I also had a microtonal club at Ball State, which is really crazy to think about. I created my own organization when I was a graduate student. We never played microtonal music live, but we did meet to talk about the theory and all of that. So like we might talk about like a different EDO each week or whatever. But it was really hard to get people to come. What would happen is I would start it, and the first like meeting of the year, everyone would be like really hype, and there'd be like 10 people there, and then like two regulars for the rest of the year. Which it's fine. That's how it goes.
Yeah. Oh man, if only they would stick around, man. Blues Chase says, I don't know if this is a question. I'm just gonna read it.
Oh boy,
I just want
I'm
your.
excited.
Let's get your reaction to this, Stephen. Blues Chase 11 says, 653 Ito has errors that are evenly off, as like 17 and 19 are 10% off, both sharp and flat, making 17 times 9 or 18 to the 2 minus 1 very accurate. Like how 43 Ito has evenly off minor and major in term, making 3 times 5 over 8.
My God,
Your
did I
opinion
just
on
read a
that?
dissertation in Morse code? That's hilarious. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. What you were saying was so funny that halfway through I stopped paying attention to what the numbers were actually doing. Is is the comment just 653 EDO is great, and here are some numbers.
The comment is literally Blues Chase spamming some fun fact about tuning. He does this a lot.
Wow, interesting. Well, I'm probably not going to use that EDO ever, but I don't know. Maybe it can become kind of a funny thing like 343 EDO. I'm going to be honest. If 343 wasn't the number that had been picked, I might not have done it because like there's this weird thing that I have where like when I was in high school, I would see angelic numbers with my friends. Like we would see 343 too much. It was kind of a weird culty thing we had as a joke. Like, everything happens at 3:43 p.m. whatever,
Really?
So yeah, it felt like it was connected to my history, like almost like I knew the guy who did the competition or something. But
Y-
then he said that he didn't go to high school with me, so
You were
I guess I believe him.
you were drawn to that for mysterious reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like if you do a weird high numbered EDO, like I don't know, I just don't see much reason to use those. Actually, one good reason to use them is unnecessary complexity. So, like, it could be good if like there was somebody who like didn't think I could write something in a weird too high EDO, and I just like write something really weird just to shut them up. That could be interesting. I've never had to do that before, but maybe that situation will happen if we play our cards right.
Yeah, hopefully. All right,
Yeah,
let's see.
hopefully.
So, Richie says, if you were to compare,
Richie!
Richie, yes, indeed, Richie. If you were to compare your go-to favorite creative process with a visual artist, who would that be? For example, Escher's mazes, Van Gogh's use of color and brush. Is there an artist you relate to, a visual artist you relate to, or are inspired by? I'll build on his question a little bit.
This is such a mainstream answer, but I'm very inspired by Kandinsky. I really love Kandinsky's sense of abstraction. Um, like any paintings that create objects where you kind of know what objects they're supposed to be or how they can be visually representative, but they aren't actually real objects. I feel like I connect to that in a deep way. And I also like things that are optical illusion based. So MC Escher, I really enjoy his work too. Yeah. But I don't like stand in front of an MC Escher and be like, whoa, I could stare at these colors all day.
Yeah, I like Kandinsky as well. I like Escher too.
Right.
I like all those. I like all those guys. I like art.
Oh, and Paul Klee, he's really good.
Paul Klee.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember Klee. I know the name, but I want to say like.
Oh, Klee has this great one that looks like a landscape that's just rectangles extending out.
Oh, maybe.
And it's somehow like bucolic and pastoral and kind of quilty and evil at the same time.
You said Paul Klee?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah, look at this. Fun.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I love that kind of stuff. Yes, absolutely. Okay, and Paliak says,
Paliak!
Favorite weird tuning.
Ooh, favorite weird
tuning. It has to be a weird one.
I think my weirdness has gotten more extreme, and I know many of you may have watched Hark the Biblically Accurate Angels Sing in 40 Tet and 42 Tet. Yeah. I think I can get way more dissonant than that. That's like a 3 out of 10 for me now. So I guess I don't know, favorite weird tuning. I guess it needs to be like small enough to really have its own character, right? You know what I should explore more often? There are some scales that I don't really like as much, and I should lean into them more. I thought about this the other day, like Magic's MOS scale. I don't like... Generally, I haven't been using scales that are just symmetrical, because I really like some asymmetry. It helps form a hierarchy. And yeah. I also haven't been using scales which are like secretly just like 3 or 4 points scattered disparately throughout the octave, and then a bunch of microtonal notes next to them. And like yes. Magic kind of gives you that in 3 spots explicitly, right? I tried to write something in Magic when I was a college student and I was frustrated, but I feel like there's a piece that I'm working on in Post-Conditional Love right now, and I haven't decided on the tuning system, and I just made this connection as we were talking, that it might be really interesting to use one of those scales with a bunch of little clusters around small areas as like, you know, big shimmer dissonance. Like that would be really neat. More so than melodic steps.
Do you have an example?
So yeah, let's see. I don't know, maybe... Well, I don't know any of the Magic tunings offhand. I mean, like, you could use... I don't know if you can use it in 22. Is that a Magic tuning?
It does support Magic, yeah.
Yeah, I've never used it that way. But I guess, like, it's funny because I... Oh, you know what some of my favorite weird tunings are? If you want EDOs, 23 is great. It's really profound. 37 is great. I don't know if 37 counts as weird. I think 37 counts as weird because of its mapping and its notational scheme. You can make it sound normal, but the logic inside is really broken. Like, I find if I create a chord progression in an equal temperament, even if it's microtonal, now that I have experience, I mostly know how things will add up inside. But if I do that in 37... you get, like, things like wolf fifths that need to happen everywhere just much more often, and you can't work around them as easily, and it's great. The reason I like 23 is because every single step of 23 sounds Zen harmonic to me without investigation or training. So I can always come back to it in a reliable way and be like, oh, this is perfect. Nothing is fitting in the slots that I want. Specifically because, like, there's sort of 2 different kinds of Zen harmonic feeling you can get from an interval where, like, well, I mean, there's many kinds, but 2 of the kinds that I'm thinking of are, like, you can have an interval that sounds, like, pretty far from 12 tet, and so it maybe sounds like a 24 tet interval or something like that that's kind of out of kilter. And that would be, like, a big difference, you know, being out of slot, as I would call it in my theory. But you can also have an interval that's in slot that's very slightly tweaked, and if it's very slightly different and it's just enough to notice, you're almost like intonationally gaslit in a great way. Like, because you're not like exactly sure where it is. I also get that feeling specifically in the fifth of the dominant chord of my 34-tet video, and so it goes. Like, the fifth of that chord is just a little bit too sharp. It's just perfect. It's just exactly sharp enough that I'm like, ooh, that's not right. But it's not wrong enough for me to, like, really complain in a nuanced way. So, like, it's perfect. And, like, 23 has that with, like, all of its intervals. It's great.
Interesting.
So 23, I guess,
23.
for now.
Nice. Yeah, very
That was
good.
too long of an answer.
No, that's great. I wish you'd talk more about it. No, that's fine. That's perfect.
I should do a live stream for like 10 hours where I just pontificate about tunings.
Yeah, I would watch that. Paleox has a follow-up question. 5N versus 7N, who wins?
Ooh, great question. For me, I think it's 5N. Because 5N tunings give you, those Blackwood systems, which have triads in them and are more manageable. 7Ns are cool, but I don't know. I feel like they don't, I don't understand them as much. It could be there's some potential that's just untapped in there, but I feel like they sound very 7+ to me. Like, I haven't really unlocked their potential. And I also think that 5 is, like, easier to audiate than 7, too. So I also prefer 5 a little bit for that reason. So, and 7N tunings, notation again, they're a circle of 7, the 7-note circle of fifths with arrows coming out of it. So that's really hard to read, but it is its own thing, and that's really interesting. So yeah, I say 5N wins.
Yeah, I would probably agree.
You can put me on the record for that one.
I also just think 5 Ito sounds better to me than 7 Ito too.
Oh, 5 is here's another interesting observation about 5. Back to playing tests for people and getting their answers. Oh, my wife, she's the saint. I'll come up and be like, okay, do you want A or B? Just like going to the eye doctor, like just rendered in different tunings, and she's like, A, B, hate them both, love them both, doesn't matter, get out of my face. And sometimes I do it to my cool coworkers too. But 5 is so agreeable, even to the most bland, normie listeners out there who pretend that anything that's not in 12-tone equal temperament is from the devil himself. They will listen to 5 EDO and be like, oh, that's nice. There's just something about it that's really agreeable. One time I played an excerpt in 5 for my brother, and he was like, yeah, do more stuff like that in major or whatever. And I was like, oh.
That's part of what I like about like 15 Edo is that it includes 5. And there's something so nice about 5 EDO. My
brother is really funny from a musical perspective because he could do everything that I do as a musician, but he's chosen a more responsible path. He's a city planner, and he's so good at what he does that he keeps getting promoted, and he works in a tall building, and every time he gets promoted, he goes up higher in the building. But the last time he got promoted, he didn't actually go up, but he went sideways and got a different cubicle. So hopefully he'll get to the top of the building someday. He's really cool.
Oh, no.
Oh no.
He moved sideways. That is such a portent. Oh no. Alright. Yeah, good luck to your brother, man.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the king.
Alright. Paleac also said 5 is like a deeply universal special tuning, like the only Edo I think that's been used in other cultures. I don't know if that's true, but
oh no, that's not true. But it is quite rare to find, I think, equal temperament calculated as a part of non-Western culture. But the concept is certainly there in many places. Actually, it's there in Georgian tuning. The concept of 7-tone equal temperament is alive and well. I didn't even think of this, but people were commenting on how panduries might not be tuned to 7-tet, but they might be tuned to a pure perfect fifth with like 175-ish steps between them, which is like almost 7-tet, but overshoots the octave just a little bit. And it never occurred to me how interesting it is that like the panduri is really old, but it could be tuned to 7-tet. Like, that definitely seems weird to me, right? Like, in all my readings about Georgian music theory, I didn't even encounter anyone trying to ratioize it, which should be, like, really common, right? Like, that's crazy. So, that would be a good example for you, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, Georgian music theory is full of surprises. It's the perfect music theory to foil all the bad stereotypes about non-Western music theory that are out there. It's harmonically rich, it's complicated, it can use equal temperament. It's amazing. Oh, and octaves don't have to be equivalent either.
Really?
I guess not. It depends on who you talk to. There's disagreement about what the standard tuning is, which is really interesting. For more details, you can watch the video, and you can also see some interesting comments one of the singers made, disagreeing with some core premises in the video. But luckily, I accidentally worded it in such a great way that even with the disagreements in mind, like, it's still a really good video, and like, I didn't say anything that was so wrong that it has to be dismissed as misinformation.
It's a great video.
Yeah.
I like how I said this earlier, but I'll say it again. Like the recent transcriptions, it's not just the transcription. Like
Yeah,
there's this whole talk about it.
the way Joelle put
Ha-
it was detective work, which I
Yeah.
love.
Have you been?
Detective work.
I don't think I've noticed that until. Is that something you just started doing, or have you done that before? Like where you'll have like a whole intro about the process
I'm
of
doing it.
notating
I'm
that?
doing it for the last recreational transcriptions I want to do because I've saved the most intense for last, or the most difficult for last. Because a lot of the earlier ones, the puzzle is just ear training in the tuning. So that's not as interesting of a puzzle as, say, completely deriving a fretboard and various other things. Same with Georgian music theory. So there's only two left. They're both puzzles. The X guitar one. Oh, actually, here, visual gag for anyone who's watching. I tried to figure out the X guitar tuning. Here are all the papers about it. I don't know if anyone can see the screen, but like you can see I've calculated various sizes and drawn out the fretboard. So actually, I'm really ahead on that one because I started it, I figured out the entire fretboard, had to use more math, and realized there were discrepancies that I couldn't account for. So on this one, I have to take a deeper dive than into Ron Sword's microtonal guitar. But the music is like really underwhelming because he's just playing it to goof around on his channel. So the music won't be interesting at all. It'll be like the Ron Sword one, but to the nth degree, where like the detective work, instead of taking up like 2/3 of the video, takes up like 9/10 of it, and then the music is just, oh, look at this. It's just, I love it. It's great.
There's so many microtonal mad scientists.
Yes, truly.
You are definitely one of them.
I think one of the hardest things to transcribe would be like pygmy music.
Pygmy music, why is
Microtonal
that?
pygmy music, yeah. Because it's very, very contrapuntal, and microtonal as well.
I see. All right. Steven, I'm so glad you came on, man. I appreciate you
Yeah.
chatting with us. Are there any other questions from anybody? I think that was all the questions we had. Do you have any questions for people watching, Steven, or?
Ooh, my question for you is, who would you like to see on Now and Zen?
Yeah, there you go. Who would you like to see on Now and Zen? Adam Freese says it's a great interview. Thank you, Adam. Who would you guys like to see on Now and Zen? Apparently nobody.
For all the marbles.
Delta Court says, Richie says, Ellen Fullman. Ellen Fullman.
Ellen Fullman.
Whoever that is.
I've heard Ellen Fullman's name. Where did I hear it before?
Paliak wants to see the Quebec aliens.
Yes! Now, I've actually wondered about them because they just have their own made-up language, so would they, not like I could even get them, but would they come on and just talk in their made-up language? Because I saw, like, the French interview with them where they talked in their made-up language, but then there were subtitles translating what they said below, which were answers to the questions. So I don't know how that would work. Interviewing them kind of like feels like it would be like interviewing Sarah Brand, where like every single time somebody asked Sarah Brand about her song, she was like, "Oh, it's a metaphor." Like, I wonder if we could even talk about anything meaningful. But maybe that would be a funny episode. It's just like 2 minutes long of me asking Sarah Brand the same question twice.
Zeno says, Gordon Weary.
Yes! Plot twist, foreshadowing. Gordon will be coming on the show to discuss exactly how zen-pilled he has gotten over time and concocted the optical medication for you and your loved ones to make sure you don't get stuck in 12-tet forever.
There you go. He also said French is a real language.
French is a real language.
Talking about the
I thought
aliens.
it was a fake one. Oh yeah, that.
He's saying they're not doing alien talk. They're just speaking French, man.
Wait, seriously? No, come on.
I don't know. That's true. I don't know. I don't know what they do. I actually haven't paid that much attention to them. I did watch a bit of that video, but
Well, it's funny because I have been purposely trying to make them appear in my feed more, but it's kind of gotten out of control. And now they're like every other video I see, so I have to like slow down. But
really?
I did like today. I finally watched their entire. Today was a really important day because I noticed David Bennett had bought my Sarnia's transcription, and I was like, "Oh my god, is this real life?" And then he made the video with my Sarnia's transcription, and I was like, "Ah, how cool!"
That's cool.
And then I watched the entire KEXP set, and it was very good because I feel like some of their songs have grown on me because of how metrically interesting they are. Like, I don't know, I don't really like Sherpa that much because I feel like the Triceo trope is kind of overplayed. But like Mata Zizlek or whatever that one is so cool because it just starts with like this one hit, and you think it's gonna be really normal, and then the guy comes in with like a totally badass shredding riff that's in 5/4 against it, and you do not expect that at all, and it's great. And it's also really microtonal.
Nice.
So, you know, lots of really, really good stuff that they're doing in the metric looping department as well as the microtonal department.
Hell yeah. Dude, I had another thing I wanted to say, but I can't remember what it was.
Oh, yeah, you can
Oh, well.
ruminate for a while. Feel free. While you do that,
Um,
I'll pull out the most microtonal instrument I own, one that you're absolutely not prepared for.
oh, I can't hear it because you have the noise canceller on. I can't hear it.
Oh no, that's just how it sounds. It's a silent instrument. I'd use it to play John Cage pieces.
You're kidding.
No.
What? That's crazy.
I would love to actually perform that piece someday. That would be great. Actually, if I performed that piece, I might do it to be a troll. Like maybe I would like eat some gassy food and like have a cold, so like maybe I'm coughing and farting. I don't know. Like how far? It'd be really interesting. I think it would be cool to take 433 like in a direction where people are a bit like purposely loud and rude and like kind of ruin the experience to see if like it would still philosophically hold up water. I don't know, man. It could be like a rage room.
John Cage,
John
433,
Rage.
John Rage.
John Rage. That's the name. Hold on.
You write it down.
Just having a conversation this interesting is causing us to accidentally think of new events. Great. I'm just gonna write down John Rage and hope I remember it tomorrow.
Richie says Cage Rage.
Cage Rage. I love it.
And
That's
Paleac
great.
has another question. He said, "Do you think Zen rhythm is a real thing?"
Oh, good question. Well, creating interesting rhythms doesn't have the same negative stigma as Zen harmonics, but I think you can, like, with a little bit of clever thinking, create a rhythm that probably isn't something that appears in most songs, or most musicians might not be able to find an example of it. So that's what I think of when I think of Zen rhythm. Like in the Emoji album, on each track there was a Zen harmonic principle and a Zen rhythmic principle. And the Zen harmonic principle wasn't really describing how it was Zen harmonic. It was describing why I picked the weird tuning I picked and like what numbers it made me think of. And that became a compositional inspiration. And then for the Zen rhythmic principle, I described like how some measures lined up. All you really need are long bars that quantize weird and differently, and most people just don't do that. So, but you might be able to think of some of those things if you like, delve into like prog rock and metal and some crazy things like that. That kind of thing. I actually don't know a lot about those. Like I should know more, but I'm familiar with some of the things that like Meshuggah and Tigran Hamasyan would do in that department. But yeah. Yeah, so rhythm doesn't face the same negative stigma, but if you're mathematically clever, you can think of a rhythm that probably no one's done, and if someone has done it, it's quite obscure. But being Zenharmonic or microtonal, which aren't the same thing, of course, is like really low-hanging fruit because all you have to do is just not use 12-tone equal temperament, in some sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, weird rhythms don't necessarily bother people. Although they might not get it. It's not people don't have that visceral reaction to like a strange rhythm.
Yeah, like microtonality is so like it's so binary the way we framed it, where like 12 tone equal temperament is the standard tuning, and then everything else is just whatever, you know? Actually, another video I haven't watched yet but need to is Faria Faraji's video on Scandinavian tuning. Praveen told me once that Scandinavian tuning doesn't have a standard, um, like a standard tuning. So actually, I think studying musical situations where there isn't a standard tuning but like a series of values to aim for is very. I don't know if that's necessarily a non-Western thing, but it does seem like a really novel kind of complex situation that's like Georgian tuning. I think can be a little bit like that too, because it's like even when I made that video, it's like the leading scholars disagree on how it should be quantized. That kind of thing.
Yeah. I remember my question now.
Yes, we did it.
I okay. I feel like you're kind of. I mean, you're obviously not like a mainstream celebrity. No offense, but I mean,
Oh, I would take offense if you called me a mainstream celebrity.
but in this world, you are a celebrity, man. I mean, you're one of those people everyone knows. You've done so much for the microtonal world. You're on a short list. Do you feel that? Do you feel that? And what does that feel like? Do you feel appreciated? Do you ever feel pressure? Like, do people put you on a pedestal? I mean, I do. But do you get a sense of that?
That's a good question. I think in some situations, I get a sense of it a lot more than others. Um, like if people don't know what I'm doing in a particular situation, they might not know who I am. It feels kind of strange, I think, to try and explain it to them. And I love getting random emails from interesting people about stuff all the time. That's really cool. So, in a big sense, I'm just kind of like doing what I want to do. And if I just provide a bunch of stuff that I wish I had myself a lot more, then I found that just doing that and being on the grind, it's like after a while, I've like earned some respect. Like, you can't just do it like once or twice, it doesn't count. You have to just keep doing it over and over. And then eventually there's just so much that builds up that like you become a resource. Um, yeah, I feel the appreciation from lots of people. Definitely like certain people. Like sometimes people reach out to me, and I'm like, "Wow, I definitely thought you were out of my league,"
Oh,
and that
yeah.
kind of thing. So
Nice.
I guess I've been. I don't know about being put on a pedestal. I mean, with my I think with microtonality being as difficult as it is, it's easy for me to accidentally think that the people around me want nothing to do with it. But really, a lot of them are very interested in experimentation, and it's simply hard to dig oneself out of like the system you're stuck in, right? Like, so I think some people kind of see me as an alien, uh, and I don't really go for that as much because, like you said, we're operating on imperfect information, and part of the appeal of that is like me knowing that if you know, X person who's a good musician was as dedicated as I was in this direction, that they could probably do the things that I do. I've always believed that relatively firmly. I'm also a bit too like optimistic with my students sometimes. Like if they have a hard thing, and most teachers would be like, "Oh, I'm not sure if they can do that." Like if they are invested and I've seen them do the kinds of maneuvers that maybe would result in that, I might give them something that's slightly on the more difficult end of what's possible for them. So I'm like generally pretty optimistic in that situation. Um,
Since your tastes are so esoteric and you're so deep in the microtones, do you find it hard to relate to like normal people's tastes, especially with music?
I think so sometimes. I mean, it's not that it's not that I don't understand why people like a certain normal thing. Like I understand the appeal and I felt that appeal myself. It's just that when people are like really aggressively unadventurous, like I'd find it hard to not see it like they're shooting themselves in the foot. Like people who kind of complain like, "Oh man, this life is totally boring." And then they just like listen to like two kinds of things and they will never try anything new. I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm not well versed in. Like, I like weird food, but I'm not like a good cook or anything. Actually, if you put me next to a stove, that's a good way to make a boilerplate recipe go south because I have bad luck attached to me in that department. But like, I don't know, at least I always want to try something new. I don't understand people who don't want to try something new and then complain that everything is boring. It's like maybe you're boring.
Mm, right. That's true.
It's so odd.
Yeah. Richie says, "Do you ever get Zen recognized in public?"
No, never. It's never happened.
Not yet.
That would be really interesting. I would love for that day to happen. I have had random people from the past occasionally recognize me in my more viral moments. So, like on the Sarnia's video, someone commented that they were my teacher, and that they were seeing me a decade later. And I was trying to think of like what college class that must have been from because I couldn't quite think of it or wrap my head around it. That kind of thing. So I do get recognized on the internet. Actually, there was one time where I was part of a blue orb meme, and one of my students recognized me because they saw that post and were like in the jazz music community, and they were like, "Oh my god, is this you?"
I don't know what that is. Blue orb meme?
Yeah, it's like I don't know. Blue Orb is doing like what chord memes where like he posts an image of someone like doing something insanely bizarre, like maybe playing a broken instrument or like something that wouldn't result in a coherent chord and saying what chord, And then
Yeah.
like one day I did the same thing with a 19 tet piano and I played like the cluster that comes from stacking diatonic semitones in 19. So I played C, D flat, D sharp, and E, and then he posted it and was like, "What chord?"
Oh, nice.
At least I think that's the one I played. So,
Cool.
but it's
Yeah.
weird because like the only time that anything Zen celebrity really interacts with me in real life in any kind of way are these conferences that I would go to or events where like I'm a microtonalist and I'm lecturing and all of that
Yeah.
stuff. That's pretty much it.
But you already know a lot of the people there before you go, and
Oh yeah,
you know
I think
they know
everybody
you.
kind of
And
knows each other.
yeah, exactly.
Yes, I know them
Yeah.
and they know me. Generally, I know everybody because we're all just so terminally online.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yes.
Cool. Nice. Hey, Obelisk guy. All right. Well, hey, if nobody else has any questions, Steven, I don't know. I think, what do you think? Are we done? You have anything else you want to say, or?
Oh, I should say something. Let's see. What should I say? Oh, one thing I should mention is I'm trying to put all my past music on the streaming platforms. So potentially you can expect that soon. And maybe even the music will be categorized so well that you can tell your friends that Steven has like 4 albums of original music and not just like random scatterings from SoundCloud and the Emoji album.
Yes. Steven, you've done so much stuff, and like I did like kind of research you a little bit too, but even that felt kind of silly because I've heard so much. I've heard you talk so much on Now and Zen. We've interacted a little bit online. Like I already, I would have already had so much to talk to you about. But like when I look at your resume, it's just insane. You've put out so much music. You've done in outside of Zen, you've done like composing for video games, indie films and stuff. Like you've done a lot of stuff at Ball State.
Oh
But
yeah.
I say all this to say that, it's hard to say, Steven, guys, check out this thing. I mean, check out his YouTube channel, his Bandcamp. He's done a ton of stuff, and check out his podcast, of course, Now and Zen. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yes, of course.
Just,
Well, I'm really excited to see what you accomplish too with this Zen Pilled interview series that you've got going on. The other thing that's on my radar, of course, is Zendergarden. Although I haven't heard anything, and I've been relatively out of the loop. But I love these, podcasts, and then like different podcasts that spring up and all like occupy the landscape. And of course, Zendergarden is like ridiculously experimental in a way that I can never get away with in Now and Zen, as much as I'd like to sometimes, depending
Yeah.
on what happens.
I like their podcast, and when Dodozil was here, I was asking if they were going to do more of that, and it sounds like no, but
Oh, that's too bad.
I hope your vote of confidence will help inspire them, because I'd
Bring
like
Doduzo back.
bring more Zendergarden back, because yeah, that kind of stuff is cool. Um, yeah, just I would like you. I would like to see more people doing things, giving people stuff to, giving people content to listen to and interact with
Yeah.
and all
And I think
that.
it can be scary if there are like errors, you know? So like sometimes I'll do the transcription really fast and like the Sarnia's transcription probably has some errors in it, which I've been talking about with a few people, but like I'm not uh like it's not egregious enough for me to take it down or anything. But there's definitely like a risk to like doing things really fast recreationally because you're mostly just putting it there so like people get a general idea of like what's going on. And there can be like little nitpicky things here and there that are incorrect, but
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. All right. Nice. Well, do you want to hear the next guest? Who the next guest is going to be?
yeah, who's the next guest?
In 2 weeks we'll be talking to Adam Freese. Adam Freese.
Oh, great, cool.
He made the this piano album. I think it's called Sunshine and Sakura, or maybe Sakura
nice.
and Sunshine. It's a very nice album. It's all just intonation, piano pieces. It's quite beautiful. Put it out a while back, so I'll be talking to him about that album and whatever else he's been working on lately.
Delightful.
All right, cool. Well, hey, Steven, I appreciate you coming on, man. What are you about to get into? You gonna make a shamrock burger now, or?
Well, I think my wife and I might watch some TV and tomorrow brunch at my parents' house and desperately trying to tab out Dog Like Sparky by the Cardiacs before my rehearsal. And then what? I don't know. Oh yeah, I have to transpose Radiohead song into a weird key and take the capo away and then like practice for a few other things and figure out that microtonal guitar and all that stuff. So, and maybe get to the X guitar transcription. I don't know how much energy I'll have. I feel like that one's gonna take a lot of effort to describe, but the music is so, I don't know. And also, I've got projects with friends that I want to do. So, girls just want to have fun. A cover that I really want to do with a friend, with Katie, actually. That's going to be in 21 Tet. And I'm so excited for that because I've never played anything in 21 Tet for the channel before.
Interesting. Very nice. All right, sir.
All right, it's been great.
Yes.
And I will see you on Now and Zen whenever that episode comes out because I have not done as much planning as you, so we won't know when it is, but it'll probably be pretty soon.
I do very little planning, but I have nothing going on, man. Don't feel bad.
Alrighty.
All right, cool. All right, man. Have a good rest of your night.
Yeah, you too.
Chat with you soon.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Later. All right, cool. That was Stephen Weigel, everybody. Thanks again to Stephen for coming on. Thanks everybody who checked out the interview. That was a good one. Anyway, I'm gonna keep streaming. I'm gonna be doing some Lumitone stuff. Actually, there's this really cool web app by Mark Sabat called Hexatone, and you can just load up one instance of a synth and play it on the whole Lumitone. And I got my expression pedal working earlier, so I'm going to probably be making some Lumitone patches and probably noodling around. 31 Ito is tuning of the year in Zen Harmonic Alliance right now, so probably be doing some 31 Ito stuff. Here for the thanks interview. Thank you, Adam. Okay, so I'm going to go set that up. Yeah, I'm going to be, if you like Delta, I'll show off Hexatone as soon as I come back. Later, Richie. Thanks for dropping by, dude. Have a good rest of your night. But yeah, I'm gonna go set this stuff up. Take a quick 5. In the meantime, let's check out some of Steven's Christmas album, Ignoring Years of Hindsight. This is quite a fun album. I'll be back in a few.